The letter weighed on me like a lead ingot. I had handled dozens of correspondences in my career, blackmail, love notes, confessions penned with shaking hands. But Robert Hartwell's final words were different. They bore the unease of a man not afraid of death, but of obscurity, of being erased without explanation. That night, long after Evelyn had retired to her room, I remained in the inn's dining hall with only a lantern for company. The oil flame sputtered and hissed, casting long shadows across the warped floorboards. I laid the letter flat, smoothing its creases, and read it until the words seemed to bleed into one another. Follow the smoke. Trust no man in uniform. There was nothing in Robert's known life, no criminal ties, no debts, that explained why those words needed to be written in haste. I remembered his voice steady as iron when he'd spoken of corruption moving westward with the rails. He had believed the railroad lines carried more than steel and passengers. They carried secrets worth killing for. The following morning, Evelyn joined me at the inn's modest breakfast table. She was composed, though faint circles beneath her eyes betrayed a restless night. She slid the letter across the table with a practiced calm, but her finger pressed firmly upon the inked line.
"Read it again,"
she said. Her voice was quiet but resolute.
"This part."
Follow the smoke. I set down my coffee. It isn't a flourish. Robert wasn't a man for riddles. Smoke. I hesitated, then leaned closer so our voices wouldn't carry. It may refer to the mills, or the trains themselves. Either way, he wanted us to look where the soot rises. Her brow furrowed.
"And the uniform?"
That part troubles me most, I admitted. He warns against men who should represent order. Soldiers, sheriffs, anyone in authority. Evelyn drew a long breath.
"Then we can trust no one but each other."
Her words should have been comforting, but I felt their weight instead. I had promised her safety, and now the only ally she named was me. We set out that morning into the streets of Ashford. The town was small, but it breathed with the restless rhythm of the 1870s West. Horses clattering along muddy ruts, saloons clanging with laughter too sharp to be merry, women hauling water pails with shoulders squared against gossiping eyes. The war was 5 years behind us, yet its shadow lingered in every man's gait. As we walked, I noticed how the townsfolk regarded Evelyn, not with recognition, but with curiosity. A widow in her late 20s, dressed in mourning black, her bearing refined but out of place. Some nodded politely, others whispered behind their hands. She ignored them all, keeping her chin high. We reached the edge of the rail yard by noon. Smoke and ash thickened the air, clinging to our coats. The clang of steel on steel rang like an unending hymn. Boxcars stood in long rows, doors bolted tight. Laborers moved briskly, though not all bore the calluses of true workmen. 2 men stood guard near a line of freight cars. Their coats were too fine for laborers, yet their posture too rigid for civilians. Not soldiers, but trained. Their boots gleamed despite the dust. Evelyn's eyes darted to them, then to me.
"Uniforms,"
she whispered. I gave the faintest nod. Not official, but uniform all the same. We lingered near a coal pile, feigning casual interest in the locomotives while I observed the men. A foreman approached, exchanged a few low words with one of the guards, and discreetly passed him a folded note. The guard slipped it into his pocket without so much as a glance. The sort of transaction one doesn't wish recorded. Evelyn's hand brushed my sleeve, light as a moth's wing but firm enough to anchor me. Her eyes held a quiet fire.
"Whatever Robert uncovered, it began here."
I studied her face. She did not flinch, though soot streaked her gloves and the air stung her eyes. She had her brother's steel, the same unyielding determination I remembered when Robert pursued a lead against riverboat smugglers along the Mississippi line. Only now, it was Evelyn beside me. I swallowed the thought and turned back to the tracks. The sun struck the steel rails, casting them into long ribbons of light. They stretched across the plains, converging toward the horizon like lines on a map too vast to follow. Each rail whispered of destinations unknown, some carrying cattle, others carrying ore, and perhaps some carrying the secret Robert had died for. A whistle pierced the air as a locomotive thundered past, belching smoke that choked the sky. The vibration shook the earth beneath us, rattling even the glass in the station's windows. Evelyn covered her mouth against the soot, but her eyes never left the locked boxcars. "We'll need to know where they go," I murmured.
And how to follow.
She added quickly.
Robert must have left more than just this letter.
Her voice carried both hope and defiance, as though daring fate to deny her. For a moment I forgot myself and simply looked at her, the determination etched into her brow, the set of her jaw. She was no longer just Robert's grieving sister, she was becoming his successor, but as much as her strength steadied me, it also filled me with dread, because strength could not shield her from a bullet, nor from the men in false uniforms who already marked her presence with suspicious glances. That night, back at the inn, I spread Robert's letter once more across the table. Evelyn sat across from me, candlelight dancing in her eyes. Together, we studied every mark, every inflection of pen against paper, searching for a message between the lines. The ink had blotted slightly near the word smoke, as though Robert's hand had trembled, or perhaps he had written in haste, pursued even then. The paper itself bore faint stains, oil or coal dust, evidence that he had been near the rail yard before his death. Evelyn reached out, fingertips grazing the edge of the parchment.
He knew they would silence him. That's why he sent this. To guide us.
Her voice broke slightly on the last word, though she steadied herself quickly. She looked at me with a resolve that stirred something unprofessional in me, something I had long buried beneath layers of duty and restraint. "You realize," I said carefully, "that if Robert was right, the men behind this are not petty thieves. They are powerful, ruthless. Once we pull this thread, we may not be able to stop."
Then we must hold on.
She replied. The candle burned low between us. Outside, the whistle of another departing train echoed into the night, a sound both mournful and foreboding. And I understood, with a certainty that chilled me, that we were no longer merely investigating Robert's death. We had stepped onto rails already in motion, rails carrying us toward a secret that would not let us go.